Welcome back to the 6th Gear Garage. Today, we're going to take a look at the last of 3 Toyota pickups I just purchased. Even though it's not running, I'm going to show you why this one is my personal favorite of the bunch. So here it is, a 1987 4-wheel drive 22RE 5-speed standard cab pickup. Now, while it may not look like much at first, notice there's no rust on the bed. It's fiberglass. Oh, and there's an engine and transmission in the bed, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So let's continue around the exterior first. Look down here. That's a clean OEM front valence, which is usually the first thing that gets smashed when these trucks see a good time off-road. The fender is nice, but I can't say the same for the cab and the doors. Now this bed is nowhere near ready for paint, but there's no damage besides some chips and scratches. And this design is actually better than the fiberglass bed on my truck because it's all finished behind the gas door. When I go off-road, a bunch of mud and stuff ends up around the gas cap on my truck. Kind of annoying. Looks like the bed was red before it was this metallic dark green. That's a sweet steel tube bumper. The chrome is getting a little bit of surface rust, but it looked good on the right truck if it was painted with like a black bed liner. Now there's no tailgate, but unlike the fiberglass bed on my truck, this truck has hinges to accept an OEM tailgate. The driver's side door and rocker panels look a little worse than the passenger side. I thought it would have like the 4-wheel drive or like the EFI badge on the cab, but I don't know, maybe this isn't the original cab. Let's have a look inside. Yep, an SR5 interior swap. Full cloth door panels with armrests. Power windows and locks. I've never owned a truck with any of this stuff before. Power mirrors. This thing is loaded. Is that a defrost button? That doesn't make sense. The seats aren't SR5, and I'm not sure what they're from, but they do look 80s though. And a little bit of wear happening on the surface here. I'm going to hop in here. It has the original shift knobs. That radio is definitely newer. Looks 90s to me. Tape and CD player. Kind of cool that they kept it all Toyota though. Everything is in pretty nice shape, especially this HVAC face. This truck even has AC. Here is the holy grail of options, the inclinometer. I've always wanted one of these. I even put one from a Toyota Tercel into my truck, but this one even has like a separate button for the light. Very cool. Unfortunately, the dash has the usual crack in the middle. Ooh, I've never seen a pickup with fancy map lights. The shifter surround isn't broken like it is on most trucks. Oh good, here's the other center cap that was missing on the back wheel. Here's the SR5 cluster with tachometer. You got 217,500 miles on this one. I definitely want to install one of these into my 85 so I can know my RPM. Let's have a look under the hood. What's this label? This vehicle rust-proofed by Z-Bart. Any damaged panels must be reprocessed by Z-Bart to keep warranty effective. That's kind of funny. Oh, look at all the holes that they plugged up to spray inside the body. Unfortunately, I don't think it worked. They've got plugs all around the door jamb, even on this top edge, even on the plastic B-pillar. Oh, come on, guys. Those would be worth some good money if there wasn't a hole in it. There you go. Z-Bart rust proof. That's how they do it. There's another thing I've always wanted for my 85, and that is a 22RE swap. Look at that hood rust. That's so Ohio. Now you see there's the missing intake tube, the radiator, the fan. That was all included. The original owner started to take this apart to replace the head gasket because it was pushing coolant. And this is as far as he got. I'm considering pulling this engine, checking it over, finishing the job, and swapping this 22RE along with everything else EFI into my 85. Now, if you've done this, I want your honest opinion. Is it worth it, or should I just stick with my carbureted 22R? I know I need everything all the way back to the fuel tank. Between this truck and the 86 1-ton, I should have all of the parts I need. There's really not much less vacuum lines in here than a 22R, but there is a lot more wiring and sensors. So, do you think it's worth converting to EFI? Let me know in the comments. One interesting thing about this engine is that it has an RV head. Supposedly, that means it has slightly larger valves, good for a little bit more power. And I'm not sure about the cam, if that's the same as a normal head or not. Check out the aftermarket header here. I'm unsure what brand it is, but it has like the tube on the top for the carbureted 22R intake, as well as the O2 sensor bung for EFI motors. That flange is pretty thick. I mean, it looks like a decent header. That's definitely going to go onto my truck, whether I keep it carbureted or go with the EFI. Time to take a look underneath the truck, starting with the usual rust on the front panel. Although not a hole like most of the trucks have around here. The frame has some surface rust, but some of that still looks like the original finish. This passenger floor looks great for an Ohio pickup truck. And the frame isn't horrible yet. I mean, it's getting a little scaly as I go to the back. Ooh, I see a frame repair back there. Okay, this cross brace where the parking brake cable mounts is getting pretty bad. Oh, by the way, the A-arms are still solid, just a little bit crusty. Now, let's check out this repair job. That's some thick steel. That looks like that's like 1/4 inch thick. They built a box around the existing frame, which I don't like because the original frame will then continue to rust and rot away and crumble away inside, and then all that stuff sits in the bottom of the frame, holding in more moisture, causing more rust. But with it being so thick, you know, I think it's safe to say they bought some extra time compared to if it was done with like 1/8 inch thick or even 3/16 inch thick steel. They weren't messing around. And they followed the curved shape of the frame too, which is a lot better than I've seen some of these patch job frames when people just weld angle iron on over them. The rest of the frame around these patch areas doesn't look too bad. Some aftermarket shackles back here. The original mounted spare wheel. Now, this is rare because the mounting hardware on these trucks, at least in Ohio, it gets so rusty that you have to destroy it to remove the wheel, or sometimes it just rusts away and falls off when you drive down the road. Passenger side frame looks exactly the same as the driver's side. They patched it with the same 1/4 inch thick steel here. You know, I'd consider this one roadworthy, at least for the time being. And I don't say that often when I buy a cheap second-gen pickup. The cross member is looking about as bad as it was on the passenger side. I just noticed this. The driver's floor has been patched here, but it's a pretty good patch job though. You can see the seam at the top, but they did a good job like forming it to fit. Then it folds under, and a few inches back you can see where it ends. Right at the bracket for the body mount. Alright, I can't skip over these 90s American Racing alloys. I like how the hubs poke through in the fronts. Looks like they're a welded two-piece design. Oh yeah, and there's this. So the seller was clearing out his property of everything Toyota related, and that included this spare 22RE engine he had sitting in his shop. I don't know the mileage or the condition, so I don't really feel comfortable selling it to someone, so I might end up just disassembling it and for parts, and then sell some of what's good and any EFI parts that I don't need for a potential swap. He did say it was a second gen 22RE with all the EFI for a 93 pickup. So I'm not even sure what EFI parts on this are compatible with a second gen. So I've got a lot of research and a lot of wrenching to do here. That also means a whole lot of how-to videos as I document the work I do on these 3 trucks. I know some of you have commented in the past that you want more Toyota videos. Well, there will be no shortage of Toyota videos. So please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more how-to videos and project vehicle updates here at the 6th Gear Garage.